Welcome to part 2 of my Why the Matrix Trilogy is Underrated series. I last left off talking about all this symbolism shit, so let's just jump right into it. The third thing that I love about the Matrix Trilogy is each character's last line. I'm a big stickler for the first and last lines of characters. First and last lines can tell you a lot about how characters develop throughout the story. Sometimes characters aren't introduced through words per se, but through actions, which is equally as important. Neo's first lines aren't that memorable, but his actions are. He's sleeping, and then wakes up. This is about his awakening. Neo's last line, as I went over already in the previous video, is
It was inevitable.
His ultimate acceptance of destiny. Mr. Smith comes to us as a personification of nihilism. Is it nihilism or nihilism? Nothing has any meaning to him, as he so eloquently explains in the final moments of Revolutions, which, by the way, I consider one of the best speeches that any fictional villain gives.
I keep fighting. You believe you're fighting for something, for more than your survival? Can you tell me what it is? Do you even know? Is it freedom or truth? Perhaps peace? Could it be for love? Illusions, Mr. Anderson, vagaries of perception. Temporary constructs of a feeble human intellect trying desperately to justify an existence that is without meaning or purpose.
The irony occurs when his last line is,
No, it's not fair.
he was so sure of being able to do anything he wanted that when he finally lost, he claimed life was unfair to him. Morpheus was the badass mentor from the first movie, and most of the second. By the third, he was left in the dark. With his beliefs crushed, all he could do was sit and watch.
I don't know if what he's doing is right. I don't know if he'll reach the Machine City. And if he does, I don't know what he can do to save us.
When the machines finally retreated at the end, his last line is perfect.
Is this real?
Niobe played the role of the good atheist. She didn't believe in any myths or legends of the One, but she did believe in Neo as a person, which she explicitly states here.
You've never believed in the One.
I still don't.
Then why are you doing this?
I believe in him.
At the very end of Revolutions, while hugging Morpheus, she says,
Neo, wherever you are. Thank you.
Even the minor characters Locke and Kid have great final lines. Locke never believed in Neo, and so he expresses his disbelief.
It doesn't make sense.
Kid represents a new generation, obviously. It's appropriate for him to announce the end of the war. In a way, that reminds me of Phidippides, an ancient Greek who ran to Athens to announce their victory against the Persians in the Battle of Marathon. Which, by the way, that's how we started the marathon race. Now, the Oracle has the best last line of all. She is a program designed to understand human behavior, compulsion and feeling rather than numbers and statistics. When Seraph asks her if she knew that the war would end, she says,
Oh no, I didn't. But I believed.
and that's really the final message of the Matrix Trilogy, that reality is that which you believe in. This leads into the next thing I love about the trilogy. Explaining complex philosophies in simple examples. Plato's allegory of the cave was just the tip of the iceberg. Nearly every philosophy involving reality is explained eloquently. You can marathon all 3 movies for a class on philosophy. The first movie has all the basics of questioning reality, taken straight from Simulation and Simulacra, or Simulacra and Simulation, whatever, it doesn't matter, by Jean Baudrillard. Cypher is a character who takes on the form of neutrality, quoting the age-old idiom,
Ignorance is bliss.
The Matrix Reloaded is all about the illusion of choice, and the Merovingian explains this with causality.
You see, there is only one constant, one universal. It is the only real truth. Causality. Action, reaction. Cause, an effect.
Everything begins with choice.
No, wrong. Choice is an illusion created between those with power and those without.
His explanation foreshadows the end of the movie when Neo is forced to make a choice by the architect, someone in power telling someone without power what to do. Mr. Smith, as I've mentioned, is nihilism personified. And I also love the small family of programmers that was stuck in limbo, the train station. It's a nice presentation of how AI can understand love and other human emotions. Breaking some tropes. After the architect reveals the truth about the Matrix, the characters reach the lowest point of their experience. Morpheus is confounded. Trinity is distraught after Neo enters limbo. Neo has no idea what to do. Nobody has any idea what to do. And you know what? I love that. Morpheus went from an old magician archetype to a fool. He was the Obi-Wan Kenobi of the story, but now his beliefs have been shattered and he has to deal with it. Now Neo and Morpheus are more or less on the same wavelength. This breaks the trope of the hero figure always being told what to do. Instead, the hero figure in the Matrix trilogy ends up having to figure out for himself what to do. Maybe the reason why the first Matrix movie is so popular is because it's actually tropey and predictable, which is strange to say because tropes and predictability is sometimes negative. But when we can relate to something that is familiar, we tend to like it more. It's a superhero origin story that we are all familiar with. The rest kind of weaves around in an unfamiliar territory. The Wachowskis achieved their dream despite mainstream Hollywood. What do the Matrix sequels and the Star Wars prequels have in common? Two things. Fans hate them, and the creators finish their vision without any typical Hollywood influence. Yeah, hate them all you want. You should still admire the fact that they successfully achieved their vision, however stupid you think it is. With the Matrix specifically, the Wachowskis created their dream, and that's it. They finished. There's no Matrix 4, no reboot, despite all the internet rumors. The Matrix had a beginning, a small expanded universe, yeah, and then that's it. The end. Nobody else is messing with it. Funny thing. So I put this recording off for so long that back then there was no news, no official news about any remake or sequel or anything like that. But now there is news of an official remake in talks. But to be fair, it has nothing to do with the Wachowskis. They're not doing anything with it. So I still count it as them completing their vision and not touching it anymore. That requires a certain artistic dignity that not many franchises in Hollywood practice nowadays. I'm seconds away from covering the bad stuff, but there's a particular interesting fact about the Matrix trilogy that took me years to realize. It's so different from mainstream Hollywood in one glaring aspect that few question: the abundance of non-white characters. You barely ever see that in a mainstream Hollywood movie. And it's interesting to note that absolutely none of the agents are non-white. Every agent is white. The architect is white. Meanwhile, the Oracle is black. The leader of the human resistance is black. Morpheus is black. The programmer and his family in trouble with the Merovingian are Indian. Seraph is Asian. The only non-white villains we ever see throughout the entire trilogy are just some of the Merovingian's henchmen. Maybe there's some subtle message about marginalized groups being pushed in a corner while white people are always in power. Maybe it's also because many of the symbolisms are derived from Asian, Indian, and other Eastern mythologies. I don't fucking know. Point is, you rarely see so many non-white people in a mainstream Hollywood movie. And part of that is because the Wachowskis did their own thing in their own terms. I mean, that highway chase? They created that whole set. They were like... Yeah, The Matrix is known for its crazy, slow-motion CGI sequences, but they created a lot of stuff. And not many movies do that nowadays. And that's it for part 2. Stay tuned for me covering all the bad stuff about the Matrix trilogy.